Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining us for CPACE Alliance's 2025 Annual National Roundup webinars. This is the second part of this series that we've been holding this week. And of course, my name is Nicholas Zuba. I'm Deputy Director of CPACE Alliance, your host and moderator for today's webinar. And so just give you a little bit of sense of what these webinars are all about, if this is your first time here. Basically, this is a forum that allows program administrators from all across the country to come together here to present on what their programs achieved in the previous year of 2024, what they're seeking to achieve here in 2025, and then we open it up to questions from the audience and from myself, just to, again, touch on what it is that they're going to be working on, certainly in the coming year. So yes, this gives us a really good opportunity to really learn from each other and also to just trying to, again, find out and give that situational awareness of just finding out what everybody's working on at this time across the country. So we hope that you find this very informative and enjoyable here this afternoon. All right, so in terms of our agenda for today, we're going to just simply give you a quick overview about the organization of CPACE Alliance. Again, if you're not familiar, we'll go over just some housekeeping items that we ask everybody to adhere to. And then lastly, we just do all the different program updates that are going to be featured here this afternoon from all of these different organizations from across the country. So we definitely look forward to their presentations here this afternoon. Okay, so once again, just a quick overview about who CPACE Alliance is. We're a nonprofit trade association who basically works on, let's try that again. Bear with me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. So once again, CPACE Alliance is a nonprofit trade association who basically tries to develop different best practices for the development and creation of CPACE programs from all across the country. And we do that in an effort to really, again, maximize the amount of public benefits we can get out of CPACE projects being financed and getting as many high quality CPACE projects completed all across the country so that we're meeting all these different policy goals all across the country. And also, too, the other thing to note about CPACE Alliance, as I mentioned on Tuesday's call, and I'll repeat here, we're going through a bit of our own transition at CPACE Alliance because our founder and current executive director of CPACE Alliance, Cliff Kellogg, announced late last year that he is stepping down as executive director on March 1st. So our organization is currently undergoing a national search to find his successor. And we're hopeful again to have this process completed and the new executive director in place by the end of the first quarter of this year. And of course, on behalf of myself and our entire coalition, we do thank Cliff for all of his service of starting up CPACE Alliance, creating this coalition, and getting as much done as he has over the last 7 years, really expanding and growing the CPACE industry all across the country with our members. So again, we really do wish Cliff well, and we wish him luck on whatever his future projects or endeavors he might be doing as he moves on here from CPACE Alliance. So again, we thank him for everything that he has done. And so with that said, let me go off now to our housekeeping items. And so in terms of just making sure that the webinar just moves along very smoothly here and we don't have any kind of unwarranted interruptions, please make sure that if you're not speaking, please keep your microphone muted and your video turned off during the webinar. And then, of course, the way we're going to handle questions here is that this will be moderated by me. And what I ask for you to do is to send your questions in through the chat area using that tool in Zoom. And then, like I said, I will be go ahead and monitoring those questions throughout the webinar. And we're going to try to get to as many of your questions here as possible here today. And of course, just recognize we do have more speakers here this afternoon than we did on Tuesday. So we're going to try and move this along as smoothly as we can and keep us to the time frame that we've allotted for today's webinar. So with that said, I don't believe that we have Lisa Shulock. I believe that she was under the weather, so I'm not sure that she's going to be able to attend here today. But this is basically her update in terms of what they achieved this year, being 2 projects were closed, about $42.5 million worth of activity. In terms of their achievements, they closed phase 2 of an industrial project with a capital provider of CCG Pace that was originally first financed in 2021, making that total CPACE investment of $47 million. They closed their first a Pace Loan Group project in Pennsylvania, it seems. And then they spoke at 34 individual events, both in person and virtual, to help spread the word about CPACE throughout the city of Philadelphia. And then their goals really for the coming year is going to be to increase their volume of small deals through engagement with community leaders and strategic partners. And at the same time, they're looking to get at least one new to Philly capital provider to close a deal, and as well as hoping to grow more solar adoption throughout the entire city. And if Lisa does happen to join us late here in this case, I'll definitely go back and allow her to summarize some of her other points. And we'll certainly just flip back to that if she does arrive. So, but with that, we're going to keep moving along. And so let's now go to Illinois, and let's now give the floor to Brad Fletcher. So Brad, take it away.
Thanks, Nicholas. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brad Fletcher, Managing Director of Public Finance at the Illinois Finance Authority. As background, IFA is a state agency that has been an active conduit issuer in the long-term debt market for several decades, with approximately $26 billion of conduit debt obligations outstanding. At this time, on behalf of economic development projects for private borrowers and private lenders, as well as for the IEPA state revolving fund programs that make loans to local governments in Illinois to finance eligible wastewater treatment and sanitary sewage facilities and drinking water facilities. Today, quite obviously, I'll be providing an update on the IFA PACE program that's administered by the Illinois CPACE Open Market Initiative. Beginning with our CPACE activity, most capital providers on this call will recall that IFA successfully financed about $75 million of PACE projects in Illinois between 2019 and 2022 in collaboration with private label PACE programs, such as with the City of Chicago and the Village of Rosemont, and in collaboration with capital providers on a discrete basis where no PACE program was otherwise readily available or affordable. Thereafter, the IFA PACE program began operations in January 2023 after being launched by IFA for counties and municipalities in the fourth quarter of 2022. To date, the IFA PACE program has successfully financed 2 PACE projects in aggregate principal amount of approximately $8.8 million. One PACE project was for new construction of multifamily asset in Mount Prospect, and the other PACE project was for the refinancing of a hospitality asset in Northbrook. Each of those municipalities are located in Cook County, Illinois. Moving on, achievements for the IFA PACE program in 2024 include Joe Davies County and Carroll County, including all municipalities and unincorporated areas located therein. Establishing the IFA PACE program, bringing the total number of Illinois counties that have established the IFA PACE program in Illinois to 6. Moreover, during 2024, the city of Collinsville, the city of Moline, city of Mount Carroll, the city of Rock Island, and the city of Silvis, each separate and apart from any county PACE programs, individually established the IFA PACE program, bring the total number of cities, villages, incorporated towns in Illinois that have established the IFA PACE program in Illinois to 15. So each of these counties and municipalities have taken the necessary steps to include commercial PACE financing as a new tool in their economic development toolboxes. And IFA encourages capital providers on this call to consider these local governments when originating new deals. Looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, the IFA PACE program will remain focused on targeting the markets in Illinois that capital providers on this call are targeting. And IFA will work with additional counties and municipalities to establish the IFA PACE program and scale our operations. As always, the IFA PACE program welcomes new capital providers that qualify. And finally, my contact information can be found on the slide. Many thanks to Nicholas and the team at CPACE Alliance, including Cliff. Best wishes from Brad and IFA for putting this Nashville Roundup call together. So Nick, thank you so much for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you so much for the update, Brad. We appreciate that. And we certainly wish you luck with all your endeavors here in the coming year. I don't see any questions coming in from the chat at this point, and actually, I'm kind of bereft of any questions at this point, I have to admit. So, Brad, thank you again for the update, and definitely a good luck to you and your program here in 2025.
Thanks, Nicholas.
All right, thank you so much again for participating. All right, let's now move on to Nashville in Davidson County, and James Harris. The floor is now yours. Go ahead, James.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. We have had a very good year here in Nashville. We started our program back in July of 2023. So we've been in existence for about a year and a half. Um, through the through 2024, the very first part, we had, of course, two deals that we have gotten completed here. Over 2024, we were able to do three deals, totaling 27, $27 million, $27.5 million worth of CPACE financing. And what's great about those deals, the first two deals that we did here in Nashville, we have a very expanding entertainment venues across the city, particularly on Broadway, and that's where those initial deals were started. But our last two deals, we did dealing with 8 condos, which is great because the trustee wants to expand into affordable housing in Nashville, and so we increased the housing stock here in Nashville with our last deal. We also did a deal that did retail and office space, and then we did a deal that did nursing home. We had a 110-bed facility that was added. So those are three things in 2024 that have a real impact to multiple people in terms of living and working and playing. So that was great for 2024. Right now, we're working on several deals that we expect to be completed real soon. 2024 additional achievements was that we partnered with CPACE Nation to have the annual summit here in Nashville. It went well. We met a lot of people here that we work with here with CPACE Alliance that we also cherish. And so that was a great thing for us here in Nashville to be so young to get that done. We continue to partner with different communities across Tennessee, in particular the Knox County PACE program, which which they are really growing, and they expect real soon to start concluding deals of their own. So we're happy about that, and we want to continue to expand across the state of Tennessee to expand all the opportunities that we have with CPACER. Additionally, we were very happy that we were able to have a small business owner obtain CPACE funding. And so we started him from just looking at a facility that had been gutted to now he's going to have a pretty good entertainment venue. And so they're happy about that. And so we're going to work with him through the process. And then for 2025, in summary, we want to work on our application process, have it more streamlined. We're going to do more marketing. That's probably the biggest thing we're going to do this coming year. And then we're going to continue to be a beacon, a footprint for other CPACER programs across the state.
Great. Thank you so much for the update, James. We really appreciate it. And again, sounds like you're doing a lot of great work down there in Nashville. So I don't see any questions for you in the chat, but immediate question that I have for you is when you're saying that you're going to try and start to simplify and streamline the approval process, what kind of things are you looking at to help improve that process?
Well, mainly the application process. The application process, our application packages, while they are comprehensive, they're very bulky. And so there's you really need 10 to 30 pages of our application process in terms of where it's at now. And so, but we work with the applicants and really kind of assist them in making sure that they're able to get things done pretty quickly. But we want to have one application package that has maybe 3 to 6 pages total. And for that to be all they need to apply for CPACE financing.
Got it. Great. Yeah, definitely good luck with that to try and improve the process. Because I know that all too well from being a once-a-year program administrator, and make the approval process as seamless as possible. And then just one last question, because it sounds like you're doing a lot more targeting out to the Nashville business community. What kind of groups are you actually looking to increase CPACE consciousness to? Is it kind of like your chambers of commerce, other sort of other trade groups in around the city? So like who's the target area for trying to get this in front of more business leaders?
Okay, great question. So we are trying to work with small businesses around Nashville. I mean, obviously we have open doors to all businesses, but we find it easier, that larger businesses are working or accessing CPACE or financing, but it's the smaller projects that we're trying to help so we can make sure that all levels of commerce, all levels of people in different economic situations can rise based on CPACER. And so that's why we're trying to have a greater online presence, so that some of the smaller businesses that haven't heard about us can hear about us and access our program.
Great. All right. Well, again, best of luck with those efforts as well. Outreach is definitely a key piece to getting CPACE, certainly more CPACE deals done no matter what. So definitely best of luck with those efforts.
Thank you.
All right. James, I think that's
I
all the
don't ever
questions
listen.
I
They're just gonna
have.
make it look like I'm listening.
I'm sorry, if you're
Yeah.
currently just joined us, please make sure you're muted, and we will be able to have a smooth call. Great. Thank you so much. Um, all right. Well, again, thank you so much, James, for the update here today. And again, best of luck to your efforts in 2025.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Appreciate it. Take care.
All right.
All right. And now let's stay in the South and let's now go down to the city of Atlanta, Georgia. So, Melody Eccles, this is now your time to provide your update. Go ahead.
Thanks so much. For those of you who I haven't met, I'm Melody Eccles. I'm with Invest Atlanta, which is the City of Atlanta Economic Development Agency, and we're also the program administrator for the Atlanta CPACE program. We launched the first iteration of the Atlanta CPACE program back in 2021 with a third-party program administrator who is also the sole capital provider. This program was active through 2022 and had 4 transactions totaling 16 million under that structure. We assumed the role as program administrator in January of 2023, and at that time we put a pause on the program and spent pretty much all of 2023 reassessing the program, restructuring it to an open market program. And we also wanted to make sure that our guidelines were programmatically in line with what was being circulated in drafted state legislation at that time. So we officially relaunched the Atlanta CPACE program in January of 2024, and we closed 4 projects last year totaling over 13 million. And in addition to relaunching that program, we solidified a partnership with Electrify in their efforts to support small size CPACE transactions through their building decarbonization in a box program. We did have one success story for that program that was roughly a $1 million transaction. Kind of outside of CPACE, we also partnered with the National Renewable Energy Lab to conduct research on equity considerations in Atlanta's commercial building stock as it relates to energy efficiency and benchmarking specifically. Since we're somewhat of a young program, it's important to us that we're being intentional about understanding our market and our building stock to ensure that our programs and our guidelines are supportive to those that we serve. So looking forward to 2025, we've actually already started this year off strong. We closed a $25.3 million transaction a couple weeks ago, and we're just working to continue growing our pipeline for the year. We've also made an update to our guidelines that outlines a pathway for projects that are seeking an LTV of greater than 25% of the appraised value. If you're a registered lender with the Atlanta CPACE program already, then you should have received an email from my colleague with a copy of those updated guidelines, and they're also posted on the website. I'm happy to circulate it to this group as well. And then outside of Atlanta CPACE, Invest Atlanta has created an entity called Peach State CPACE, which we intend to utilize to serve as a program administrator for other counties across Georgia now that the Georgia legislation has passed and CPACE is enabled throughout the state. So we're actively working on some branding and website development efforts to support Peach State CPACE, so stay tuned for those announcements. That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you so much for the update, Melody. And of course, you're your inaugural one here on our calls. So again, great job here. And of course, and we do look forward to partnering with you and working with you on efforts on expanding out the CPACE program out throughout the state of Georgia as time moves on here. And the one question I had immediately, which struck me, you were talking about this development of a building decarbonization in a box program. Could you just give a little bit more specifics about what's involved with that?
Sure. Yeah. So this is an effort that's led by Electrify, Colin Bishop and his team, and the focus is really around supporting small commercial properties have access to CPACE financing. So they're looking at, really sub $2 million type projects, and there's some grant funding that is a part of the program that's available to help cover some of the costs that create barriers for some of these smaller transactions to transpire. So funding to help cover costs of initial energy audits and analysis of the building. And then there's also a piece of the program that provides no cost lender training for any new lenders that want to tap into the CPACE market. So it's kind of a holistic approach to ensuring that there is a feasible pathway for small commercial properties to access CPACE financing as well.
Great, excellent. That's a great explanation, and good luck with that. In his case, working with Colin and his group to see if we can try and get some projects done through that. And then yeah, in terms of follow up on we talking about the updates to program guidelines, when is that going to be made available as part of like any kind of public comment period, or are you just going to simply share, basically when they're ready in this case, and it's going to be greenlit in this case to be ready to use. So just maybe describe that a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I have, as I mentioned, shared them with our registered CPACE lenders. I think a good number of those folks are on this call, but they're also already posted on our website. It's investatlanta.com/pace, and I can circulate it via email as well. But all it is we added a section in there that addresses our loan to value requirement. In the previous iteration of the guidelines, we had a maximum of 25% loan to value. And it just throughout, responding to some of our pipeline projects and just looking at some of the transactions that we've done thus far since relaunching, we're seeing a need to have some flexibility there. And because our program was launched prior to the state legislation, we have some flexibility in that requirement. So it's outlined a list of 8 or so criteria that if a project meets at least 3 of them, then we will consider allowing for the loan to value to exceed that 25%.
Got it. Great. All right. Yeah. If you could, yeah, definitely circulate that to certainly my group. We'd be more than happy to go take a look at all of those changes and see if we have any comments for you.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. I don't see any other questions through the chat for you, Melody. So thank you again for your update here this afternoon. And of course, we do look forward to working with you and partnering with you. And then, of course, all luck to your programs in 2025.
Likewise. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, let's now head up here to the Northeast and let's now go to the state of Connecticut. Catherine, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Nick. Hi, everyone. So our CPACE activity cumulative projects through 2023, you can see 395 for 251 million. Projects closed in 2024 were 18 projects for 96 million. The 2024 crowning achievement was the $65 million new construction project. It's the biggest CPACE deal that ever closed in Connecticut. And it was the first and so far only to use our new resiliency guidelines. So we were very excited about that. And 2025 objectives and activities, in addition to just our normal, pipeline work, we are hoping to update our capital provider website documentation and process and possibly add an application, which we don't really use at this point. So that would be a new addition.
All right. Thanks for that nice, short and sweet update in this case. And again, congratulations on that newest large project in this case, and using the resiliency guidance to actually help get that project done. So again, kudos and congratulations there. We had one question for you, Catherine, that came in through the chat. So will Connecticut be considering any additional eligible measures to its program in the near future?
None at the moment. Did whoever asked that question, what was your specific interest?
Maybe it'd be easier, Shelby, if you want to go ahead and unmute
Yeah,
yourself.
hi. Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
I was just reflecting on when I saw you at the CPACE Alliance Roundtable last fall. I think at the time it had sounded like, and maybe I misconstrued this, that you were perhaps considering adding additional measures. But maybe I've misremembered that, or it was a thought, but not yet a plan. So
Sorry,
apologies.
Shelby, I couldn't hear you. Nick, can you repeat what she said? For some reason, she's not coming through very loudly.
Well, yeah, she was just stating that upon a conversation you had at our last roundtable event in Chicago last September, that there was maybe conversation where you were saying you might be adding measures at that time, but she admits she might be misconstruing something or not remembering something.
Oh, well, I don't know if at that point when Shelby, when we were talking, if we had already approved our resiliency measure. So resiliency was new last year in Connecticut. We didn't have resiliency as a component of our program. So it's possible that's what we were discussing. I don't think there's anything else at the moment that we are seriously considering. So my guess is that's what we're talking about.
Thanks.
Sure.
All right. All right. I didn't have any other questions on my side, and I don't see any other in the chat. So again, Catherine, thank you so much for your update for this year. And of course, best of luck to the program as always in 2025.
Thanks, Nick.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, let's now move over to both Maryland and Virginia in this case. And so, Abby Johnson, the floor is now yours.
Thanks, Nick. And I just want to say that it's great. It's been really awesome working with Cliff all these years. He was one of our early supporters in Virginia and helped us through a lot of legislative trials and tribulations. So I wish him the best and glad to have you at the helm. And so I just want to go over the two states that we administer. Maryland, we administer through our for-profit Abacus Property Solutions. We've had a rather rough year. We didn't actually close any deals this year. We had several that were that are still in the wings, that are quite large. And I think that also goes to the fact that Maryland as a state is not, really kind of in growth mode, but we're hoping that in 2025 we can really work on a few things. One, obviously reaching out directly to property owners, like the ones who are, looking at redeveloping Camden Yards and other areas around the Baltimore Harbor. And also looking to do some updates to the statutes, like in the local ordinances, like in Anne Arundel, which has a limit, an SIR limit that we're trying to remove. So I think that, once we get some of these lingering 2 or 3 counties on board, we'll have a really consistent program that has the same kinds of requirements throughout. So we're really looking forward to working with counties to achieve that, and to having more of you participate in the Maryland program. So then we go to Virginia, which frankly I do know a little bit more about. We actually, we're a much newer program. We basically been open about 2.5 years as a statewide program. We run now currently have 18 localities in our program, representing about 50% of the state population. Arlington County runs their own program separately. We closed one deal in 2024 known as a Hotel Berg. And it's one, like probably a lot of you, it's a really great project in that you're taking kind of an existing older building and you're adding a new addition and you're really helping redevelop a center that, makes it more walkable, livable, and basically requires, basically makes the whole area more resilient, more energy efficient, and really promotes economic development. So we're really happy about that. And in Virginia, we have a really good pipeline, about 160 million in projects to date that are looking to close in a number of localities. So we are, looking to have, basically we had 6 jurisdictions join our program this year. We're probably estimating maybe 8 a year at this point forward. We now have most of the major jurisdictions. We call it the Crescent, kind of all of Northern Virginia. We have the Richmond area and Hampton Roads. So we're looking to kind of round that out and then go along the 81 corridor, which runs from, I think, north of Pennsylvania through North Carolina. And this is a corridor that's actually growing quite a bit. Primarily, I think, due to the fact that 81 runs through a lot of states, and in terms of logistics and the growth of e-commerce, we're seeing it to be a really developing market. So we're really focusing our efforts and trying to get a lot of localities in that area to adopt PACE. And we're also looking to work with some of the funds that are coming out from the federal government. fingers crossed they still come out. And really trying to couple those funds with CPACE money. Also, I think of interest, and Nick, of course, you're well aware of this, as is Shelby. We're moving some legislation through the legislature in Virginia to amend our state statute, and this is really to primarily clarify some things and to really make it more friendly to those who want to do business in Virginia, such as clarifying the use of ground leases, kind of clarifying how, or making it clearer about the use of condos, and the fact that you can use do kind of a new construction condo project as long as you pay off that portion as the property turns from commercial to single family residential. We've also are working to extend the retroactive period to 3 years, and are also ensuring that we minimize the cost to the property owner by ensuring that the local government costs would be basically limited to $75 and a recording fee, something like that. So we're really working to make our statute as strong as possible, because in Virginia, we basically, everything comes from the top down. So you have to have everything kind of done at the state level in order for local governments to do that. So we have a really good pipeline. We're looking to having new lenders join our markets. We're working with banks to try to get them to be consenting lenders for new projects. And the last thing I'd say for both programs is that, we're always looking to improve. We're always looking to be market facing, to have you all participate. And so, I just really welcome all of you to send an email to either me personally at abby@virginiapace.com or to info@virginiapace.com or info@abacusprop.com for Maryland, and just say if there's anything in particular you would like to tweak or you think would be great or what you like about it. So we're just looking for feedback from our partners, because I think that's important to further our relationships as we move forward. So that's all I have.
Great. Well, yeah, thank you so much for the update on both states, Abby. And again, I know you're working very hard to get these transactions done in these states and continue to improve your programs. And of course, yeah, if there's any kind of an opportunity for us in the industry to provide comments to you on each program, we definitely welcome being part of any kind of those processes for either state. So definitely, we would look forward to that opportunity.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
So my one specific question I have, because I've got a very spellbound audience here this afternoon. Everybody's pretty mum on questions. But the one question I did have for you was on the release of this ASTM resilience
Of
guidance.
course.
And so what are you seeing as kind of like the hope of the opportunity here for more resiliency projects getting financed using CPACE? Do you really feel like this guidance can really finally open a door to getting this part of the market jump-started?
Well, it's almost like, you read my mind there, Nick. So thanks a lot. Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you know, we've been involved in the work group for a number of years, and it finally got released about a year later than we expected. And we absolutely do think, this ASTM standard came from industry folks, from everything from those who provide these kind of assessments to insurance companies, to institutional investors, to rating agencies, to environmental engineers. I mean, everyone was involved in developing the standard, and it's property focused. It's on the buildings, maybe more existing buildings, but also new construction. So we think, in terms of the audience and who we're all trying to reach out to, it's exactly that audience, or the same audience. And I think it will really help standardize how you look at what the hazards are in a building that you can speak to a property owner about, how you evaluate them, and identifying specific measures. So we absolutely think this is going to help standardize resiliency as a category of measures. And as a lot of you know on the call, I've asked for everyone to provide feedback on their specific state and what they have in their state, so I can get a comprehensive idea of the whole country. So if anyone has either has my email and hasn't responded, or is on this call now, I invite you to email me at abby@virginiapace.com and tell me if your state has resiliency and what is allowed. And I'm going to compile this for everyone, provide as feedback to the whole group. And we're also having a webinar February 13th, which I invite everyone to attend. It's on our LinkedIn and also on our website, that will go over basically how the ASTM standard works and how it'll apply to CPACE. And I will tell you, we'll probably do follow-up webinars, but at a high level, I think this will be really, really important to unleash that particular group of measures.
Great, excellent. Yeah, because also too, to that point on the webinars, yeah, we hope to partner with you, Abby, and the ASTM in this
Yes.
case, maybe to provide a more detailed webinar in this case, beyond the one
Right.
that you're holding on, I believe what's February 13th is your first one?
Yeah, 11 a.m. Eastern. Yeah,
Great. Yeah, excellent. So, yeah, and of course, we would definitely welcome that more detailed introduction to
yes,
this guidance at a future point for CPA,
absolutely.
our members, and certainly the program administrators too, who maybe not see that first one. So, all right. Well, again, thank you so much for your updates here this afternoon, and best of luck again to you on both of these programs in 2025.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, thanks a lot. All right, let's now go head back up to the Northeast and let's go to Massachusetts now. So Wendy or Connor, the floor is now yours.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, Wendy.
Thanks for having us here today. I'm Wendy O'Malley, representing Mass Development Finance Agency and PACE Massachusetts program. So I think the theme of our program for 2024 and going into 2025 is we're looking to improve our program. We launched new construction 2 years ago, and we've been open for now close to 5 years for both retrofit as well. And so we've identified some barriers to property owners working in our program, allowing enough proceeds for their projects, and other technical difficulties that are not allowing them to move forward in terms of project approval. So our program, at least for 2024, while we did achieve 77 municipal opt-ins in terms of increasing the amount of participation through our cities and towns for PACE, we weren't able to close any projects, but we did revamp our fee schedule based on feedback we heard from the capital provider community. I think most notably, we've installed a cap in terms of the fee amount. So if there are any capital providers on this program that weren't aware of this change for Massachusetts, we encourage you to reach out to us and we can send you our updated fee schedule. In terms of 2025, we just posted this week updated guidelines that the Department of Energy Resources in Massachusetts, who also works to administer the program here in Massachusetts, they have posted proposed technical updates for new construction. And so Massachusetts would really appreciate any feedback, and please be honest. This is the time when we can make changes to the program. This is when your feedback's most important from the capital provider community in terms of what we've changed significantly. It's the proceeds amount. Where previously we were capped at 25%. We've now increased that to 35% under a TECC structure. And we're also trying to then embark on a phase 2 improvement for our program for our retrofit requirements. So we would really appreciate anyone who has any thoughts, improvements, anything that you'd like to share with Massachusetts in terms of what you'd like to see for accessibility. Those guidelines are posted on the DOER website. We can send you a link to that. The Massachusetts program information is available at massdevelopment.com/PACE. So with that, I think that's what we have going on in Massachusetts. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Great. Thank you so much for the update, Wendy. We appreciate that a lot. And of course, yes, on the in terms of the updates in this case to the technical guidance, I think you can be sure that my members will have honest feedback for you. And we are working diligently internally with my members to come up with comments to those guidance. And yeah, we'll be sure to bring in a letter with those comments to DOER and to you folks by that deadline toward the end of February. So we'll definitely work on that. The one thing I did want to ask about here was that you're talking about amending the statute to expand eligibility. So you wish to go into a little bit more detail what you're exploring in terms of making changes to the statute? And do you see that maybe a CPA could be of any assistance in this case with getting those changes made?
So we'd love to incorporate resiliency into our statute, which is not currently in there. So it aligns with what Abby previously talked about those efforts. We'd also like to see if we can expand the list of eligible items under the definitions we have. So for instance, under our TECC, we have a number of items that you cannot count towards that cost. So we'd like to expand, we'd like to look at our statute so that we can maybe include more eligible measures. I think, and also operationally, we'd like to see if we can maybe try a different billing structure. Right now, under our statute, we have to bill and collect through our local municipality. And so we're looking to see if there's an opportunity to do it a different way in Massachusetts. There may not be, but that's something we're willing to look at.
All right, great. Yeah, definitely best of luck with trying to make those changes that seem they can make more sense for the program and making better operational changes to the program as well. And of course, again, if CPA again can be of any assistance or support, definitely don't hesitate to contact us. We'll be happy to help. All right. I don't see any other questions in the chat for you. So, Wendy, again, thank you so much for your update this afternoon, and best of luck to your program in 2025.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Let's now move over to the Midwest and go to Minnesota. So let's now go to Holly Huston in this case, and the floor is now yours.
Thanks, Nick. I say it's Houston with no O, but Holly Houston. I'm the MinPace program administrator. I work at the St. Paul Port Authority, and through our legislation, the Port Authority has the authority to operate a MinPace program. And so we have since 2010. So we've been around for a while. Through 2023, we had closed 431 projects totaling 296 million. Last year, we closed 20 projects totaling 37 million. And I'm excited. Well, I'm excited. I'm getting ahead of myself, but we already have about 10 projects pending in Q1 now. So I'm optimistic that we will exceed our 2024 number. But just getting back to 2024, we had our strongest quarter in the fourth quarter. And so we were really seeing, I think, with interest rates impacting our program growth. And so finally in Q4, when interest rates came down slightly for a short time in September, there were some projects that were able to close. And one of those, Pace Loan Group, is doing a major office conversion project in downtown St. Paul that was just recently in the news. And that was about 15.7 million of that 21 million. And then this year, we also spent time implementing the legislative changes that enhance program flexibility, which included going to 30% of the assessed value is now available to lend. We also removed the SIR, and we included resiliency in the legislation. And Pace Loan Group also led those efforts through the legislature last year. And so now my job has really been to get the word out and try to get people to know about the increased flexibility and to utilize Pace. And then I'm continuing to make just administrative and back of the house improvements so that we can support the growth and do more. And so bringing us to 2025, at 10%, I like to throw out a number. I didn't quite meet my number last year, but that's okay. And we're going to continue to market and do outreach efforts. I am posted. I just have if anyone's looking for a job in Minnesota, you have to be in office though. I am getting some support with a loan analyst program position. So that's exciting. And then we are also kicking off a redesign of our website, hopefully making our application process a little bit simpler. Right now it works that the property owner has to fill out the application, and some lenders like to do that concierge service for them. So hopefully we'll set up a system that works for everybody. And then we'll continue to look for state, and that bullet point was made before the news this week. Anyway, fingers crossed, optimism. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Holly. And again, sorry for butchering your last name pronunciation before. Houston, I will remember that in the future. When you're saying you're talking about you're targeting a 10% program growth, you're talking more or less around volume in this case, not like geographic your reach in this case of the program. Is that right?
Correct. I'm talking about, I guess I'm really looking at dollar value when I talk about 10% growth. I should have added, we added 2 JPAs for additional counties this year. So we have 78% of the state with JPAs and available to do PACE.
Great, got it. All right, that sounds great. And then when you're saying when you made some like back office administrative improvements in this case, what kind of improvements are those? And what kind of impact will that have in terms of the front-facing process of the program that maybe my members, working with your program, could maybe see a little bit of improvement in terms of the experience?
So we've spent a lot of time working on just our loan management system, also working on having an amortization schedule that works with counties. We have found that I've spent a lot of time with past loans that the amortization sheets, what the county's billing and what the lender has don't always match. And so we've spent a lot of time in getting some of those kinks out and trying to catch any things that are going to cause heartache down the road really in advance. So we're trying to be more proactive so that we think of everything so that everybody sees what they expect once the loan starts being paid on.
All right, got it. All right, sounds great. All right, don't see any other questions in the chat for you right now. So again, thank you so much for the update, Holly, for this year. And of course, best of luck in achieving all your goals and your objectives in 2025. All right, let's now move a little further south to Missouri. And I believe we have Josh Campbell on. Josh, the floor is yours for your update.
Thanks a lot. I'm Josh Campbell with the Missouri Energy Initiative. We administer the statewide program called Show Me Pace, city program, district called Set the Pace St. Louis, and the county of St. Louis, which is called the Missouri Energy Savings Program. Number of project-wise, we hit our average around 6 projects statewide, but dollar value-wise, it was one of our best years. We've exceeded 200 million, up to 209 million since inception. And we had closed 6 projects for over 92 million in 24. As far as like what stood out, as I had mentioned, we had a 48% increase over the last record-setting year in 2022, pardon me. The other interesting part is that the average size of the project increased significantly this year, from 3.9 to 15 million, a significant jump. And we're working on a couple of things to kind of address that gap. One is that our PACE manager, Angela Gordon, has launched a PACE contractor program. So we are working to recruit contractors, do a monthly educational engagement opportunity with each of those. I believe we've already signed up about a half dozen in the first 30 days. So we're looking forward to collaborations from that will bring a variety of different sizes in the coming years. Additional for 2025, we are launching a small project program called PACE Express. That name sounds familiar because we took it from some folks on the call here, some other administrators. So we've got caps on fees. We've got caps on both administrative, legal, as well as auditing, secured partners there, all for projects under $1 million. So our hope there is to find a way to reach the smaller community and make that helpful for them. We are also celebrating our 15th anniversary for the Missouri PACE Act, so we will be doing a number of things in that area. And there is PACE legislation right now that will hopefully improve the state's PACE Act and availability, increasing to 30 years, removing first right of refusal and codifying lender consent and adding water conservation. So I think that's it.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for the update, Josh. We appreciate it. And of course, congratulations on celebrating the 15th anniversary of the passage of the Missouri PACE Act. Any big plans for that in terms of any public events or anything?
The goal is to do about an event a month. And according to Angela, I have to eat a lot of cake. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, that's not always a bad thing at the end of the day, but yeah, that definitely sounds great. And then in terms of the big increase in your historical average, and I guess would that just really be accounted but for the fact that you're doing these larger transactions, like new construction type transactions throughout the state? Is that what accounts for it?
I mean, we had probably our largest project this year. It was a $32 million project. And when you're at six projects, that really bumps up the average.
Sure.
But I know when we first launched Show Me Pace in 2015, our average was closer to about a million, million and a half. And each year, I think with all administrators, it continually goes up. And so with that, we used to be a two-tiered fee structure. We're now one tiered. It's just 1% across the board.
Got it. I think that that's logical and that makes definitely total sense. Then in terms of, did get a question in for you, Josh, from our chat here. So it says, is the 30-year term and water conservation already changed, or did you say that that was something that's being considered?
It's considered. It's a legislative proposal right now, so it's a bill that hasn't passed. Our session doesn't end until mid-May, and so we won't know definitively till then.
Got it. Great. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that for our listener. All right. Okay. I said didn't have any other questions, I think, for you at this point. So thank you so much, Josh, for your update. And of course, best of luck to you and your programs in 2025. And of course, congratulations on the 15th anniversary of the PACE Act in your state.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to now one of our, again, newer programs in this case to provide their inaugural update to our calls. So for New Jersey, let's now go to Max Frank. Max, the floor is now yours.
Thanks, Nick. Hey everyone, Max Frank. I probably know most of you guys with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, which is the state's admin. So, not a ton has happened given that the program is not 100% launched. Rather, we're only partially launched. I'll touch on what that means in a sec. But since we all saw each other in Chicago a few months ago, we have gotten board approval, which is a big milestone. So that is the first time that CPACE has ever been a program officially in New Jersey. So that was on October 9th. And then, I say partially launched because we are currently in the opting in municipality phase. None have opted in just yet, given that the documents, the model ordinance, and then the agreement that needs to be signed by the municipality, those two documents were only made live right before the new year, so kind of poor timing, but wanted to get them out ASAP. But we have a few, about, you know, a dozen or so municipalities that are very interested and are looking to do this immediately. So I would expect that probably February or March, we'll have our first opt-ins. And we have a really robust pipeline in New Jersey. Probably, that's great because of the bad news that it's taken so long to get to where we are now. So we have a 3-year look back period. So, I say robust because we have all these projects that have known about CPACE for the last few years and now want to take advantage of it retroactively. But we also have a good chunk of our pipeline being new construction. I would say that's probably 70% of that. And, we're talking well into the nine figures of projects here for dollar size. I would say over 3 or 4 dozen projects around the state. We are hoping to launch the next phase of the Garden State CPACE program, being the participation of capital providers and technical reviewers. I'm hoping that goes live sometime in February, but it may slide to March, which would be unfortunate, but it is what it is, out of my control. And then we are pretty much almost done building out the project application, which I tried to make as streamlined as possible so we don't overload anything with documents, because frankly, I don't want to have to review them all. But we're asking for the things that we need, and that should be ready to go as soon as all the documents are ready to go. And one thing that we are considering right now for a later amendment, one of the big things that's come up when I'm talking to municipalities trying to get them to opt in, they look at the fee they can charge for their actual work being done in collecting this on the tax bill, because in New Jersey, the only way to collect this assessment is the tax bill. And that would be increasing the servicing fee. Right now, it's, right around $1,000 per year. I don't necessarily think it has to go higher, but we will see what happens when the program actually goes live. Uh, and I know we're close on time, so that's all.
Great. Thank you so much for the update, Max. We really appreciate it. I'm sure we'll probably have an offline conversation about that increase in the municipal servicing fee. So we'll definitely maybe chat a bit more about that. But one question I did get in the chat was on your progress in trying to get municipalities opted in. Are any municipalities basically putting it on their agenda and have been starting to do this process? So if you had any kind of municipalities where you said that you're beginning to get that on the agenda, which ones in particular would be doing that?
So I don't want to throw any specific municipalities out there just because they tell me that they're going on the agendas doesn't mean they actually are. But I've been doing a lot of my outreach focused on the larger municipalities, just given that's where a bulk of these projects seem to be coming out of, which makes sense. So, if you have specific questions individually, feel free to email, but we'll do it on a case-by-case basis.
Got it. Yeah, no, I understand that in this case. And then the other question being that, just about where we are in terms of the process and still getting the program started up, when do you anticipate that maybe be the soonest that a cap provider could close a project in your program?
That is subject to change, but I would say March or April.
All right. And of course, the operative words there are subject to change.
Oh yeah, definitely subject to change. I'll have more info if you want. If anyone who's curious on that wants to reach out in the next 2 weeks or so, probably closer to 2 weeks from now, I'll have more info hopefully.
All right. That sounds great. All right. Thank you so much again, Max, for your update here this afternoon. And of course, we definitely look forward to working with you and best of luck with getting the program's first projects closed here in 2025.
All right, thanks, Nick.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, let's stay in the kind of the tri-state area here, and let's go now to New York, specifically the city of New York. So, Kyle, the floor is now yours.
Thanks, Nichols. Hey, everyone. Kyle Maddenpeister, associate director at NYSEQ. We're the program administrator for New York City. So, like some of the others on this call, I think 2024 is a little bit of a rebuilding year for the program. We did have one project that closed as a retrofit deal, it's about $13 million. We did have some changes to the program. We opened for new construction and major renovations. Both of those for New York City have to be all electric buildings. And we also open for buildings that are on ground leases, which in New York City there are a surprising number of properties that utilize them. So those were long awaited and had been a long time coming. So we're happy that we're open for them. That happened right before the fall. So we kind of just got it off the ground towards the end of the year. Also, some other changes were that for retrofit projects, we were able to sort of reduce the applicability of the SIR requirement. New York State does have one. In particular, electrification projects are essentially exempt from the SIR. So, their forecasts can be financed, but they don't have to meet the SIR requirement. And also we were able to include the incremental cost approach for building enclosure measures. So that was something that we had heard a lot of feedback from the market. The New York City program worked with the state, and we were able to get those changes implemented into the New York City program. Okay, I am running out of time. I would just note that the the project that did close utilized the incremental cost approach. So that was it was good to see that project was able to benefit from it. So for next year or this year, we're looking to just close projects, and we're hopeful that we will. There's definitely a lot of interest. Certainly, I think when the first new construction project closes, it'll generate a lot of excitement. And also we want to see retrofit projects. So that's basically the goal. That's where we're at now.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the update, Kyle. We appreciate that very much. I didn't see any questions in the chat, but nor did I have any really major questions for you. So yes, I'd say thank you again for your update this afternoon. And of course, best of luck on getting more of those projects closed in 2025.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and now head down south to Texas. And now we'll talk to the Texas Pace Authority and Doug Taylor. The floor is now yours.
Thanks, Nicholas. So Doug Taylor, COO of Texas Pace Authority. We are Texas's nonprofit public service administrator, now 10 years old, celebrating that milestone like some other programs around the country. So in 2024, a fair amount of activity spread across multiple jurisdictions, and like I've heard from some others as well, sort of 24 is a launch year to get better at what we do and be able to service transactions and stakeholders in a better way going forward. So allowed us to refocus on that. Big accomplishment, big milestone. We surpassed $500 million in closed transactions cumulatively last year. 35 cities across the state is where those transactions were. The first true manufacturing process, you hear industrial and manufacturing sort of used interchangeably, but they're not. Industrial, typically you're talking about warehouses. This was true manufacturing. And this required really a very different, innovative technical approach to determine what the savings and benefits were. And we worked with the team over at Asset Environments on sort of a different approach, looking at kind of a productivity-based model and energy intensity per unit of increased productivity, which made a lot of sense. So shout out to them for kind of working through that. I think that's a good model going forward on other manufacturing programs or projects. We serve now over 100 cities and counties across the state. So I guess this is our 500 year, 10 years old, 100 jurisdictions and 500 million closed. Last year, we added a dedicated transactions director. As anyone on the call knows, PACE is a very lumpy business. There can be lulls, and then there can be all hands on deck when it's transaction time. And to be as responsive as possible to all the stakeholders in the transaction, we have a dedicated person now that is the single point of contact to ensure frictionless transactions start to finish. We've also added a couple of sort of local boots on the ground. We are in Texas, so we'd say boots on the ground proudly. One covering roughly the northern half of the state, including the DFW markets, and one in the southern part of the state, including Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. Really, these are sort of market development folks that are on the ground to work with property owners and other stakeholders to work them to support them through the process. In 2025, we expect here shortly, I think Ryan with Lone Star mentioned this the other day, changes to the guidance. So these are guidance, guidelines, and standards that are developed by Keeping Pace in Texas, uniform standards to be used across the state, not best practices, but actual standards and guidelines we adhere to. The changes there that are significant is moving the LTV cap from 25 to 35%, and then also removing the cost of interest from the SIR calculation, which in effect could double the amount of project that is financed. We're also administratively looking at streamlining processes, like so many other jurisdictions. How can we support smaller transactions? We have a strategic project with utilities on multifamily heat pump replacements, removing old resistance heat pumps and air handling units, replacing those with high efficiency systems. About 300 million in the pipeline, all phases that we're looking at right now. And then last but not least, while this has been good progress, we used a tool that DOE has to better frame what the opportunity is in Texas. And just in the jurisdictions we serve, there's about $15 billion that have been identified using this DOE market assessment tool that would result in about 23 billion in savings for the owners, not including multifamily and some other asset classes just because of data limitations. So while we've had very good success and we're proud of that, we're less than 5% of this opportunity and look forward to working with you to pursue more of it.
Great. Thank you so much for the update, Dub. We appreciate it very much. And maybe, yeah, just following up on that market assessment, like what kind of inputs are in the tool that then pumped out and said that, basically there's about $15 billion in untapped project opportunities throughout the state. So like what kind of information do you put into this tool that created that kind of analysis and that opportunity?
Yeah, so the tool is available to anyone. It's being a federally funded and developed tool. You can plug in any county, I believe any county in the country over, or city, county over 100,000 in population and city over maybe 10, pretty low thresholds. And it calculates we're relying primarily like on CoStar data, age of buildings, what likely retrofits would be, what the cost and what the savings would be. Sort of applying all those kind of multiple data sets. So that's an interesting tool to look at on the savings side. And we backwards engineered that to figure out what the project opportunity would be. That's not necessarily provided in those reports. And so looking at that, again, a pretty conservative outlook of 15 billion in potential, again, not including manufacturing, not including multifamily, certain healthcare specialized facilities. So pretty conservative estimate and a lot of upside in Texas for sure.
Got it. Great. And then a question I had in the chat in this case just now was, what is the exact name of the tool? Is it just simply called the DOE Market Assessment Tool, or is there another name?
Right. Yeah, it's actually, we have it linked on our website, but you can just Google it. It's I believe it's the it's DOE's Market Assessment Tool CPACE application. So they use this tool for different things, but it's available there on the Department of Energy website.
Great. Excellent. Yeah. If you maybe too want to maybe just send around a link, maybe.
Sure. Yep. I'll drop in the chat here.
Yeah, I can be happy to maybe send it out when I send all these slides and the recordings out tomorrow to all the participants who are part of this. So that would be, I think, sure helpful to anybody in this case who's still trying to figure out, how they can maximize getting projects done in all their state programs.
Yep. Happy to do it.
All right, excellent. All right, I don't think there was any other questions in the chat or from me. So, Doug, thanks you so much for the update this afternoon, and of course, we look forward to working with you. And best of luck in 2025. All right, let's head now a loop further out west to the state of Utah. And so, Thede, the floor is now yours. Thede might be on mute.
I guess I was. Sorry about that. I just was telling people I'm Thede Chappelle, and I'm the director of the Utah CPACE program working with SRS. So Utah is a pretty unique market. Through 2023, we had closed 11 projects totaling 290 million. Last year, we didn't get any over the finish line. We had two that were really close, and that's why I mentioned them. They were both significant retrofits, and hopefully they'll close in the first quarter of this year, with that amount being about 5.3 million. What we were happy to announce is that we were rehired by the Utah Office of Energy Development to continue to administer their program. We're referring to it now as CPACE 2.0. We expanded and added additional jurisdictions. I mentioned Carbon County here. It's one of the most conservative counties in the state, so we really consider that a win. And we also added the city of St. George, Murray, and some others. as well as adding additional projects to our pipeline. We still found the lending environment to be challenging, and in Utah, the way the statute is structured, every single city or county has to approve the program individually. So that is a challenge, but we have been successful when we had a project in doing so. It just makes it somewhat spotty. So if folks have any questions about what's active and what's not, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss the status of any jurisdiction with you. For 2025, like I said, we want to partner with OED. That office has had multiple heads over the last couple of years, and they have a really good group in place now. We're looking to benefit from the fact they have a really talented PR person, so we want to increase our outreach. Particularly the educational initiatives, and reinstitute in-person workshops, which we used to do regularly and plan to again. We also want to continue to expand the adoption of CPACE in cities and counties. And as several people have mentioned, we really would like to provide better service, more service for existing retrofit projects, particularly in the small to medium-sized market. That's been a challenge here, but we have a lot of our cities and counties that are looking for solutions to helping those property owners. And so we're hoping we can find some lenders that will partner with us and focus on that as well. So that's pretty much it for Utah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the update, Thede. We appreciate it. When you mentioned in this case that CPACE now in that state is considered CPACE 2.0, maybe just a reminder to folks, maybe if they weren't aware from the last maybe calls that we did, what are some of the changes that were then made to the program that are now maybe constituting this now as CPACE 2.0 in Utah?
Well, probably the most significant is we went from and several folks have actually mentioned this as well, from a 20% eligibility for new construction up to 35. And that alone was helpful with getting, a couple of projects engaged. We just saw so many borrowers in situations where they couldn't cover the gap that lenders, were asking for either more funds, or senior lenders were only approving so much. So that's probably the most significant, although the type of outreach we intend to do and, services we can help cities and counties with, those are going to be expanded, and we're trying to decide right now exactly what that'll look. This just came about, this realignment, the end of the year, so it's relatively new, and we plan to kick off our workshops probably in April after the legislative session, and we're going to delve into what else we can do to enhance the program for the individual cities and counties.
Great, got it. All right, well, that's great in this case, and I'm sure that my members would be happy to kick the tires again on your program, which sounds like there are some projects in this case that are in your pipeline, and then to explore how they could get CPACE projects done again in the state of Utah.
Thank you.
All right, and I don't think I had any other questions from the chat. So again, Thede, thank you for your update for this year, and of course, we definitely wish you luck with the program in 2025.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. All right, and now to our final update for our Roundup calls this year. We're going to now go to the state of Wisconsin. So Kimberly, the floor is now yours.
Great, thanks, Nick. So in 2024, we closed 9 different projects, which meant we funded over $29 million in clean energy updates. To date, Wisconsin has closed 108 CPACE projects, which is over $216 million in clean financing. To date, we're approximately in 53 participating counties across the state can use CPACE. We are working with 2 additional counties to try and onboard them, as we do have projects that would like to be completed within those municipalities. So we are working with state and local government to add those on. And in 2024, we saw a mix of new construction and adaptive reuse for our projects. They're a mix of hospitality, mixed use, multifamily. And one of my favorite ones was a recent one that we did at the end of the year. And that was for a former hospital and healthcare facility center. and they turned that into a multifamily apartment building. And that was roughly about a $5 million loan. And it turned into a really nice project for us. For 2025, we're going to continue to work with our partners, which are the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, the Wisconsin Counties Association, the Wisconsin League of Municipalities, the Bankers Association, and we work closely with the development groups too. So NIAP, BOMA, and CARW, which we try to get out articles and presentations and really try to put ourselves in the mix of things as much as we can. And then we're also trying to, as I mentioned, onboard new counties as projects do come about.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for the update, Kimberly. We appreciate that. Out of all these different Wisconsin-based organizations and sort of like associations that you're dealing with here, I mean, who here would you say has probably been the most advantageous to you to work with to help possibly get more project opportunities done throughout the state?
We have influencer groups, which are the counties association, the municipalities. But our friends at NIAP and BOMA have been the most helpful with referrals of actual projects.
Great.
And then, of course, the economic development associations and officers within each of the individual counties have been good partners in seeing what is currently being done in their communities. So for new construction or adaptive reuse projects, they're kind of basically our boots on the ground and helping us to unearth possible opportunities.
Great. Excellent. All right. I didn't have any other questions from the chat, and certainly I think there's no other ones from me. So again, thank you so much, Kimberly, for your update for this year. And of course, best of luck to your program and your activities in 2025.
Right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, so as I mentioned, that was the last of our updates here for our roundup calls this year. So again, thank you so much for joining us again this year for all of the updates that we received. So again, thank you to all of the administrators who presented both on Tuesday and today's calls. We really appreciate it because we can't really do this without any of you. So at this point, we don't have any other sort of upcoming events that CPA is planning to put on, whether in terms of webinars or actual convenings in this case. But I'm sure we will definitely put on some events, definitely sometime in the first half of this year. And once we do have some events together, we'll definitely send out notifications about those to everybody in this case, both among our members and as well as to the administrator community, so that you can participate and be part of our events. All right, so again, and with these roundup calls, I will be sending out the slides that our presenters had made up, and we'll be distributing those along with links to these recordings that will be posted on our YouTube channel. That will be distributed sometime tomorrow, and you will have all that information at your disposal. All right, so again, thank you so much for joining us again this year for the roundups. And of course, we look forward to working with all of you in some capacity throughout the course of 2025. So again, best of luck to all your programs. And again, have yourself a very nice day.